and welcome to the gallery, everyone. Today I want to share with all of you the 2014 Japanese drama Boku no Jikan, translated as The Hours of My Life. In this 11-episode J-drama, we are presented with the life of a young man diagnosed with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease when he is only 23 years old. This disease affects motor neurons progressively, and we are told results in death in 3 to 5 years after the onset of symptoms from paralyzed respiratory muscles. I'm thankful that such a difficult subject is taken on by this drama, and as a caretaker of a child with chronic illness, I appreciate that it is all done so thoughtfully without becoming maudlin. For me, watching this is gut-wrenching at times, but overall so encouraging and properly reorienting about how to live life well that it has surely earned a place on the gallery wall. There are moments in the episodes when we, the viewers, have our attention suddenly arrested by the sound of a ticking clock. And this soundtrack technique underscores the situation of our main character and really by extension the shared situation for each of us in our time-bound existence and uncertain futures. The talented actor Miura Haruma convincingly portrays the lead role, a complex character with moments of profound bravery. First, it seems to me that he accesses the full range of human emotions necessary for his character's story: resignation, anger, self-pity, wistfulness, pleasure, joy, hope, fear, anguish, sorrow, love, just to name a few. Yet it's all done with the subtlety of fine acting. Also, as we take this journey with the main character, our lead actor must display the physical decline inherent in ALS in detail, with his changing gait and head movements, his posture, his speech. The subject matter of this J-drama and the questions raised within it make for a poignant watch for me, especially given this actor's untimely death in 2020. The theme quote I'm using for my analysis is actually a question presented to us repeatedly in the drama. What is the purpose of a life? Or, put another way, what makes a person of value? Or yet again, what makes a life worth living? This drama surprises me by not answering the essential question here along expected modern lines of thought. And by that I mean using a medical quality of life measurement as the means by which to answer the question with all its potentially treacherous ground, the daily shifting sands of changing life circumstances, and the subjectivity of personal individual perspectives. Instead, I think we are told and shown that the answer, even though it is fleshed out in an endlessly complex variety of ways in individual human lives, the answer really boils down to one simple word: love. Because our male lead, Takuto, is a person, because he is alive, his purpose is love. His life is of value because of love, and love makes all the hours of his life worth living. Now on to a series of images that connect with this theme of a life that matters. Both our male lead, Takuto, and our female lead, Megumi, have been repeatedly rejected after numerous job interviews, and they've heard the message loud and clear that neither of them is worth a second look. Megumi even ends up asking in one interview, "What do you think is missing in me?" This ends up being a bonding point for our leads at the start of their relationship. Together they go to the beach and write a message to their future selves to place in a bottle and bury and dig up again in 3 years' time. Later on, Megumi's message to herself is revealed as this: a question, "Who is next to you?" which reveals her heart's desire for a meaningful, lasting relationship. By contrast, Takuto's message to himself is later revealed to be a blank piece of paper. That is very telling, right? We know that he has been drifting, feeling purposeless for quite a while. He's also estranged from his parents and younger brother, and he often dissembles with a smile that he does not feel in order to conceal his true emotions. He's playing a character and doesn't really like himself. He is disregarding his very own life. And this makes me think of one of my favorite poems entitled Mint by Seamus Heaney from his collection called The Spirit Level. I just like to look at the image on this book's cover because I remember watching my dad with the fascinated eyes of a child as he used a level to build things at home and make sure that that little bubble was centered so everything would be secure. Isn't the picture of a level for our spirits just brilliant? I gravitate to this poem in part because mint grew wild in the pastures surrounding my parents' farmhouse, and that distinctive smell of mint is a companion to my memories from childhood. Recently, as an adult, I was in Oregon and able to see the Pacific Ocean for the first time in my life, and one morning on my way down to the beach, I was arrested in my walk by the sudden scent of mint. I had to crouch down and search a bit through the weeds in order to locate it, but I found it and plucked off a sprig to cherish. This poem has been given a political interpretation, but I've always read it more generally as a meditation on whatever or whoever we may tend to disregard, and that those last things are the first things we end up losing. They end up eluding us because we take them for granted. We aren't awake to their value. But just as this Jdrama eventually shows us, there is the possibility of paying attention. Just like the line in the poem that reads, "The light of Sunday mornings, when the mint was cut and loved." Instead of reading it aloud to you all, I've provided a link below in the description so you can hear the poem read by the poet in his own voice. I hope you'll enjoy hearing it and breathing in the beauty of its well-crafted lines. Here, a scarf acts as another visual reminder and caution against the human tendency to disregard. Early on in the drama, Takuto lends his scarf to Megumi, wrapping it around her as an emblem of his desire to protect her. Much later in the drama, she finally returns the scarf to him, and we get this nice reversal and return of that desire to protect. She tells him that she found the forgotten scarf in her closet while she was packing up her things. She had thought she could return it to him at any time since they saw each other frequently, and accordingly, she took it for granted and then forgot all about it. Now back to those messages in a bottle. Here's what Takuto eventually ends up writing to himself on the blank piece of paper, and it's a question. Are you living in the present? But before he is ever able to write such a message to himself, he must first be diagnosed with ALS by his doctor. Here, Takuto goes to the hospital to try to glimpse his own future with ALS. He's standing outside the room of a stranger, an ALS patient who is now unable to speak since he's on a ventilator. And seeing all this proves to be too much for Takuto to handle so soon after receiving the devastating news of his diagnosis. Sometime later, he returns to the hospital and this time observes the interactions between a stranger in a wheelchair and his caregiver. He's been told by another caregiver these words, "Illness doesn't only give you hardship. There were many times I felt happy. The time I spent with my husband is so precious to me." Takuto is thinking of the toll his disease will have on Megumi. Megumi has recently realized that she wants to become a professional caregiver. Takuto listens acutely when she tells him, "I'm sure the more I care for people, the more I will realize how difficult it is, but I want to learn how to do things one by one." Megumi's declaration about taking each thing as it comes and living in the present moment seems to be a source of inspiration for our male lead. More than once in the drama, we see The two of them illustrate this approach to living by coming alongside each other and combining their limited piano skills to play a simple song together. They do what they can do right now in the present. After some time struggling through emotionally to the point of his acceptance of this diagnosis, Takuto finally writes the message to himself on the blank piece of paper. He realizes the necessity of staying in each present moment as he lives with his disease. In retrospect, we can see what Takuto could not have predicted, that his life with ALS would both inspire others to live more attentively and also even bring about future healing and reunion within his own family. This scene between the now reconciled brothers is significant as they consider the connection between them visually illustrated in their names. Both of their names have that same character for person. I see a connection to the main idea of my analysis, that because Takuto is a person, because he is alive, his life is of value. Here, he's trying out a sling apparatus to help him write in his notebook. Again and again, we witness our male lead making a goal and doing his best to live and to work on what he can do right now at the current moment. This is an important message because this is all that any of us really have for certain from our limited perspectives. If I bank too much upon the future, I may miss opportunities in the present moment. As each thing slips away from Takuto, he readjusts, saying, "I'll find my next goal," even though none of this is easy for him. He reaches another crisis point when his respiratory muscles begin to weaken, and it is time for him to decide whether he will use a ventilator to prolong his life. In anguish, he confides to Megumi, "It's not that I want to die, it's that I'm scared to live." Megumi responds by holding him and holding his hand, telling him, "I'm with you, I'll stay with you." She keeps holding his hand through the night. The relationship between our leads develops gradually over the course of the drama. These two get each other and develop a friendship. They both want their lives and jobs to be about helping other people. They are both empathetic toward others. They learn to delight together in ordinary, everyday things of the present moment, like what to make and eat for dinner, and simple pleasures like the scent of a homemade aromatherapy candle or blowing bubbles. Here they return to the beach with new messages to place in their bottle and dig up together in future. This is a nice visual representation of their relationship. We see them together face the ocean depths, symbolic of the fact that they face the future, deep, unknown, mysterious, but they do so together with the deep love they have for each other, faithful and constant as the waves that keep ceaselessly rolling onto the beach. Sometime later, when they come back here to dig up their bottle once more, we see that their paper messages are a matching pair with these identical words of thanksgiving. "Thank you for being next to me." One of the last images I'm going to share is from Takuto's speech to a group of junior high students. I'm reading an abridged version of his speech. "I'm sure everyone has thought this at least once. What is the purpose of my life? Before I became sick, I spent my everyday life aimlessly, without having any specific goals. I didn't have an identity. I even hid how I really felt from my family. I didn't like myself for always playing a character. I thought my life would continue as usual. I have prepared myself many times since I got this disease. When I decided to tell people around me about the disease, when I decided to live in the present by accepting the disease, when I couldn't use my left arm completely, when I couldn't walk, when I couldn't work anymore. This disease took so many things away from me. I was scared when I looked at the things that were taken away, so all I could do was focus on what's possible at each moment. It was a cycle of finding a goal and losing it. This disease didn't only give me suffering and despair. I've learned about the warmth of people, I can be open with my family and tell them what I want now. I can believe in love now. I like myself a little more now. It made me realize the happiness that I have now, that I can speak like this, to be able to walk, to run, to eat, to laugh, to touch each other, to feel the wind, to be enveloped in sunshine, to live at this moment, that I was born into this world. One thing I know for sure is that I am enveloped in love and warmth, no matter what condition I'm in. My family, my friends, my senpai, my doctor, and the hospital staff, the care workers, and my girlfriend who always stays next to me. Will I be able to live only with love and warmth? Will I be able to feel the meaning of life only with them? And not just that, but I can't do anything. Instead, I create more work for people by living, using the toilet, bathing, eating, sucking out phlegm. Is it okay for me to live like that? I've been thinking about that. Maybe people around me will find a purpose in life if I am alive. Maybe I can tell society the meaning of life just by the fact that I'm alive. Then what do I need to do to be myself when all I can do is to live? When that happens, what will support me is the time I've lived until then, the hours of my life. I've prepared myself. I've prepared myself to live. I will do my best until the time comes in the future. The theme music I've chosen is a BTS song, and it's Trivia Love, sung by Namjoon. As is his way to think reflectively about things, Namjoon recognizes the similarity both visually and audibly between these three Korean words. Sara, to live, saram, person, and sarang, to love. And he tells us repeatedly in the song, I live, so I love. Click the link in the description below to listen to the song. Before we depart the gallery, here's one last image taken from the drama, a cherry tree in bloom, that quintessentially Japanese emblem of living in the precious present moment. Thank you for being here with me in the gallery for this present moment of contemplation and appreciation. And now, as we each go on our way, let's do our best to stay awake to gather the beautiful.